Hi there guys, welcome to the Living Alchemist channel. My name is Vlad, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about a concept called pendulums. And this is a concept that I got from Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland. Another name for pendulums is energetic structure or energy formations, so I'm going to use some of those terms as well throughout the video. Okay, so what are these pendulums and how can we become aware of them so that we can become more free? That is the question. So pendulums form as a result of numbers of people thinking and acting in the same way. And we see this phenomenon throughout society. We even see it in nature, okay? That applies to other life forms like animals, birds, and whatnot. But in this video, I'm focusing on the pendulums created by human beings, okay, and the ones that we see in our society. So again, we are looking at numbers of people following certain, sometimes written rules, other times unwritten rules, codes of conduct, you could call them the shoulds and the shouldn'ts within a group and things like that. And so what happens is that if one person within that particular group would break the norm, whatever that norm is, even for a few seconds or maybe for longer than that, then the group will obviously notice it if it is noticeable, and they will react in certain ways. So when a person within a group breaks a pattern or the norm, the rest of the group usually looks at that individual could be with some suspicion, or perhaps they would be surprised, or they would be entertained, or they would be scared. Okay, so it can create all sorts of emotions and emotional states to the rest of the group. So what happens is that if you are a person that breaks a pattern within a group, or thinks or acts differently than the group, then you've kind of pull out from that dynamic, from that pendulum. Okay, and I'm going to give you two categories of these energetic structures that I'm going to comment on. The first one is the rather harmless one, which is more like an ordinary one, let's call it that. And the second category is the more destructive one. Okay, so examples of the first category would be things like, say, fashion or music, family, friends, sports, clubs, and things like that. So we're talking about, again, group dynamics where people, share common traits, they follow certain codes of conduct, and so on and so forth. Examples of the second category, which is the rather dangerous one, or even a destructive one. So things like war, for example, that would be the most destructive pendulum. Okay. Politics, not always, but politics has led to conflicts between people. So we're talking about certain decision making that at first is harmless, but if an idea is being proposed, and then you have the rest of that group liking that idea, and maybe that idea becomes marketed, promoted, and then implemented. Okay, so that can lead to a variety of results or consequences. So politics can lead to dangerous events, but not always. Another example would be, say, religion. Okay, again, not always, but it has happened throughout history, and it can still happen. So these are the two main categories of pendulums that I'm discussing in this video. And so the main question is, how do we deal with them? Okay, and why should I be aware of this phenomenon? What are the benefits of being aware of it? And I'm going to tell you that there are great benefits of becoming aware of these energetic formations and knowing how to interact with them. Okay, so first you got to become aware of them so that you can move on to the next level and the next level and so on and so on, in knowing how to deal with them. So become aware of these energetic structures, observe them without feeding them your energy, okay? Because one of the characteristics of these energy formations is to suck the energy from people, okay? That is your attention. So wherever you place your attention, that is where your awareness goes, and that creates your reality, your perception of reality. So become aware, observe them. If there is a pendulum in particular that you've been involved with, that you feel that, hey, you know what, this doesn't give me much energy, it rather takes energy from me, then it's time to stop feeding it. Observe it instead. You don't need to judge it. That's an essential aspect of this as well. And well, something interesting will happen when you go through these stages, and that is that you will become more free within yourself. You will become more present, and you will have more freedom of choice. So when we talk about freedom of choice, what exactly are we talking about? What can you actually choose that you couldn't choose before? Well, you can choose the reality that you want to live in, okay? The events that you want to take part in, the people that you want to interact with, and also how you respond to life as a whole. So as I said earlier, that one of the main traits of a pendulum is to take energy from you. Okay, now it can also give you energy. An example of that would be a group dynamic that you're a fan of, okay, something like, say, music or sports. Okay, so as long as you interact with that pendulum in a healthy way, in a healthy manner, then that's all good and fine. But remember, not everybody is aware of this. Okay, that's why we have conflicts on this planet. That's why it's one of the main reasons why people don't get along. Okay, because they fall into the trap of these pendulums, these energy formations, and then they begin to take life too seriously. They attribute importance to things, and what happens to the freedom of choice then? Well, there's not that much of it as a result. So again, by pulling out of these group dynamics, be it small numbers of people or large numbers of people, you gain more awareness, you become more centered, and then you can create your life in a more conscious way. Okay, so if we take a look at the family pendulum, for example, family or friends even, we're looking at relationships that have developed over a long time, okay, numbers of years. And so if you've been thinking and acting more or less in the same way as your family members, and at some point in your life you're taking a different path, as long as you stay true to yourself, then go on that path, be on that path, and when that happens, especially in a situation like that, the rest of the group are not gonna like it, generally speaking, but there are exceptions, of course. I think people that receive support from their family, no matter what direction they want to go in, as long as it's something that they resonate with, then there is that support from the group, and that's amazing. However, that's not the case for everybody. So this is where we're being put to test, okay, to see how much do we mean what we say and what we intend to do, especially when there's pressure from a group. How do we deal with that? Are we still gonna stay on our path, or are we gonna be sucked back into the dynamic of that group? And I've been put to test several times, and one of the very first time, which was more significant to me, was about 11 years ago when I moved to London, and my family members were kind of doubtful about my decision. They didn't really believe in my decision, and so I started to notice that They didn't believe in me. They didn't believe in my decision to move to London, but I did it anyway. So that was kind of a more significant step for me to go my own path, and yeah, I mean, I don't regret it at all. I stand for it 100%, and it's been one of the best decisions that I've made. So again, this is a personal example where you stay in your truth, you follow your path, whatever the pendulum is asking for. Now, when we're looking at large numbers of people that create these energetic structures, well, that can go in so many different directions. But again, the same thing applies. So you can be part of a group, large group, small group, and you interact with those people at certain levels, but then there will be other levels where you just don't relate to the people in the same way. So that's when you can pull out from there and you spend time with yourself, or maybe you spend time with another person and you do other activities and things like that. So again, it's about how we relate to this phenomenon called pendulums, rather than how to avoid it. Because I mean, we can avoid things to a certain extent, I believe that, but not completely, because I think that part of being alive on this planet is to say yes to the game, okay, the game of life. And of course, there are things in this game of life that we're saying no to, for sure. So this is where the ability to say yes and to say no comes in as well. So our power of discernment. What do I accept? What don't I accept? So we're, again, in the grand scheme of things, it's about how we respond to the world. So by becoming aware of these pendulums, of these energetic structures, we interact with them in a more conscious way, and that leads to more self-empowerment. If you're new to this phenomenon called pendulums, I would like you to observe, and then observe some more, how people within a certain group follow the same code of conduct, they have the same mannerisms, they use the same key words or key phrases. This is especially noticeable in politics, for example. And again, you're looking at how people use their verbal language, how they use their body language. Okay, there are many similarities, even though there are differences between, say, political parties, but there's this underlying theme that a pendulum has. And you can see this in any sort of group dynamics. So once you can pull out from a certain energetic structure, you become a more unique person. And this is part of knowing how to deal with this phenomenon, that you're here to express your uniqueness. You're not here to be like everyone else. Yes, there are similarities, there will always be, but there is that level of uniqueness that has yet to be discovered, has yet to be expressed. And I see this, I mean, I still have my work to do with myself, and I see this in other people as well. So to give you another example of a pendulum, if you're ready for it, what emerged at the beginning of 2020 and what is still kind of happening now into 2021, the global events with all this madness and all this stuff. Well, this is a typical, global pendulum. And, I see how a lot of people have bought into this out of fear. And so they follow through the steps, whatever those are, and they do that more because they are afraid of what's going to happen if they don't. That's at least my point of view. And what I'm suggesting is to become a more conscious person. So if you to take precautions in a certain situation, then do it consciously. Don't do it in a fearful way, or thinking that, oh, I better do this. What are the other people gonna think or say if I don't act like them? And I've been put to test with regards to this, global pendulum, where I had to say no to certain things at work. Okay, has to do with these restrictions, for example. And I don't stand for them, so I had to speak my mind. I had to speak my heart and mind. And I came out on the other side as a stronger person, as a more confident person. Again, I could see through this phenomenon, through this pendulum, and I observed it for quite some time, and then I observed it some more. Sometimes I would get pulled into it, and I would feel it, then I would pull out, which could be tricky to do, but eventually I would pull out by reducing my judgments and my criticism. These are two essential things when you want to just have more like freedom within yourself, and go more with the flow and things like that. So drop your judgments and your criticism, and you will flow more with life. So I've been put to test several times. We all do in so many different situations and experiences. And so I'm going to end this video by saying that this phenomenon is worth examining and becoming aware of, observing, so that we can become more empowered creators of our reality. So this has been my video on the topic of pendulums and how to deal with them. I'm more than happy to make more videos on the topic. And until then, have a great day, stay aware, and keep expanding. Bye.